Our guest is a gentleman by the name of Grant Tom. Been in the industry many years, 23 years to be exact. Uh, in the background, that's the Skype call we're making out to him. He runs an agency called Gold Creative. And their logo is kind of like a goldfish and stuff like that. Even their office is a hand-painted goldfish all over the place. And they're doing some nice work, man,
Yeah, man.
with regards to just like trying to position not only themselves, but the work that they do as kind of thought leaders. And I think we got Grant on the line.
Grant, are you with
Hi
us?
guys, how you doing?
Hey, Grant, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Great.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, loud and
definitely
clear,
can.
loud and clear. How's it going down under?
Yeah, it's going. It's past midnight here at the moment, but it's been a long day. But yeah, very productive.
Wonderful.
Nice one. Well, thanks for staying up and joining us. So, just to give our listeners some perspective, is Grant, you run Gold Creative based out of here in Joburg, but you guys also have offices there in Australia.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, we've just taken some partnerships up with some design agencies down here,
Okay.
and we're busy expanding on the digital horizon, which is taking over the world. So we're positioning ourselves internationally as well.
Okay.
Right.
Great.
And yeah, we're trying to understand the growing trends and understand where things are taking. And naturally, we want to move into other places around the world. But yeah, we're just learning small little exercises as we go along.
Yeah, definitely.
So maybe let's just jump into that, Grant. Yeah. I mean, you guys are kind of um, a wonderful South African business that's kind of paid its dues here locally, and now you're kind of down under. Maybe who is Goldfish, man? And what is your kind of particular brand of creative thinking, if you will, that has kind of worked so well here that you guys are making sort of major moves in a different country, different continent, different context, different people, different ideas, different environment, different customers. What is this Gold Creative beast that you guys are creating, man?
Well, you know, Gold Creative now has been going for just over 23 years.
Okay.
And when I started the business, I was started by myself in the garage of someone's house, and all at that stage, I come out of the Ogilvy Mather stable, so all I knew was to be an art director. And in those days, I didn't work on computers or anything like that. Everything was done by hand. We had to render by hand, we had to illustrate by hand, we even had to do some of the typography by hand.
Jeez.
Wow.
So yeah, when I started the business, what I'm doing right now is actually what I envisaged back then. We're living the most exciting times, and the whole point of growing Gold Creative and the touch point of what Gold Creative really was that it was an agency that was able to understand the client's needs, be able to communicate to the client in the way that he understood,
Right.
and was able to participate and partner with our clients in order to build the exposure and the experience of their brands, utilizing what we do best and what we have fun doing naturally.
Nice.
You referred to the beast. It's just that the world is getting smaller, and at the same time, it's all about leverage. And
Correct.
we believe that by the digital age, just really just you know I've got the strong belief that no one sleeps anymore, and I think I'm starting to live it myself. Just looking at the hours that I'm up still. It's funny enough, even though it's quite late here, I've still been working on the Johannesburg stuff this evening,
Right. That's awesome.
and still got quite a ton on my plate still to do this evening still. But it was about creating leverage. It's about creating positioning. It's about adding value to our customers, and our customers are starting to say, listen, we're doing it here, we're doing it there, we want a partner. How best can you place us in order to create those partnerships? And that's basically the investment that we decided to take out by exploring other regions as to what they're doing.
Nice.
Right. So, Grant, just to maybe take a step back, is that
Yeah.
this industry, the marketing industry, the advertising industry, and now the digital industry is a very competitive space. So how does Gold Creative go about differentiating yourselves within that? Do you guys have any specific unique ways that you offer your services, that you guys work, that your team does what it does?
Yeah, it's a hard one to unbundle. It's very client specific.
For sure.
It's also how maverick is the client wishing to go. If they're quite conservative,
Right,
then we
right,
have
right.
to take a conservative approach. But if they want to be out of the box and thinking alternative, that's our best attributes. We are a real we're good at forecasting. We're good at trend
Okay,
setting. We're good at
okay.
understanding where the creative curve is. And yeah, that fits for a lot of our clients.
And speaking of your clients, who are you guys specifically telling your story to, or telling stories on behalf of? I mean, what does that look like? What does your typical client pool look like?
It's a very wide spectrum. We
Right.
don't believe in above the line and below the line, and I never have for the last 23 years, and it's actually coming to fruition right now.
Kind of through the line then.
Um, yeah, it's about just adding creativity to a story. And what's happening now with this digital age is that it's not so much about the pretty picture, it's about what that picture is saying that is now counting the most.
Right.
Because, especially in the age where we are, people don't want to be sold to anymore, but they want to be entertained. And if they are entertained and they find value, they will share with their friends. And together, within a friendship base, they will collectively make decisions in which to act on and to buy on.
Right.
And that is where I find that the turning curve of traditional media to that of social media and digital media is now becoming so exciting, where we're starting, as consumers, as people on the ground, we're starting to communicate our voice to things where previously we were dictated to, we were spoken to, we couldn't speak back. It's changing dramatically, and we're having to listen to what people are telling us.
Right, right, right. Okay, so I mean, look, Grant, this is all kind of fascinating, man. But I mean, and I think it's really cool that you're kind of talking to us around sort of what it is that you guys do. This kind of fresh perspective, I guess, that you guys are bringing into the kind of broadly the communications, advertising, marketing kind of sector. But I'm really interested in what is your why, right? And I mean that from from the perspective that that to follow on Mo's question, it is a very very competitive space that you're in.
Mm.
There are like hundreds of different agencies in the area, in fact thousands of different agencies that offer pretty much the same thing, right? And in the area that you guys are in, the Santon sort of area, research tells us that there's about 1,200 agencies that do some kind of variation or combination of the services that you guys provide. So why must anyone sort of choose to go with you guys?
Look, that's a fair question, and especially with the way things are changing and changing as rapidly as they are,
Mm,
we are constantly having to reinvent ourselves on a regular basis.
right.
One of the things that is paramount in the number that you put forward is that I would say that 10% of what you've mentioned are really good at what they do and really passionate and have a long
This is
list of
true,
case
yeah.
studies as to what they really are. So, not to knock the industry by no means, I would say 10% are really good at what they
Yeah.
are. And we are constantly striving to want to be in that 10% factor.
Nice.
Our point of difference is that we're known and have been known for a number of years to be a business growth specialist advertising and digital agency.
Okay, I
So
like
what that
that. I
means
like
is
that.
we want to partner with you. You like that? You like that term?
Yeah, no, business growth, because that's really what it's about, right?
Yeah, we want to grow people's businesses. For us, it's not about the awards. We're not an awards chaser by no means. We love creativity, and we love the fact that if clients want to be edgy with, and we want to do it with them. But of course, we're not like reckless. We do it in a very precise way, in a strategy. My background might be creativity, but at the end of the day, the thing I've learned the most in the 23 years is strategy, and when to do things and how to do things. And I would say that by being a partner to our clients and specializing in business growth specialist strategies
Right.
that define brands, define products, define where markets are changing and going to. And that's part of the whole point of going international and leveraging. From here, we are embarking on something in the UK, where we're partnering with an agency there. So slowly, we're trying to just build our footprint across niche agencies
Nice.
with to play in a space, because we want to be the leader of the curve of the creative curve, but at the same time we don't want to be lost in the process of just doing mundane work within
For
a
sure.
mundane space anymore.
For sure.
But we are solely and wholly an African agency, and we will remain that way. And our brains and our source is always coming from Africa.
Right.
Okay. Grant, I just want to switch up the questions a little bit, because as you know,
Yeah,
the Opportune Time is a show kind of for and about entrepreneurs. So I want to take a step
yeah.
back and go through kind of the last 23 years from your perspective, as being in someone else's garage now to running kind of a beautiful building there in Rivonia. Could you maybe take us through some of the milestones that you've had, both good and bad, designed and unintended, kind of along this journey of 23 years of running an ad business?
You know, let's start with the unintended.
All
I
right.
think that some of the unintentions were that we did our work pretty well. That I think that a fair number, I think we're sitting on about 15 of our clients that we had that eventually sold their businesses because of the work that we were doing with them, as
Wow.
the sense of where they were, how they grew,
Right.
and eventually they were earmarked as come on board a bigger group, or they had a certain set market of the target market that someone else
Wow,
wanted,
that's
and
cool.
an offer was made. So, yeah, we had our clients selling their businesses was something that wasn't part of our plan, type of stuff. We wanted to grow things with them, and we did, but eventually someone would take them out. So I think we're sitting with about 15
Nice.
clients to date that have sold their businesses on to bigger and other corporations within the process.
That's a very cool
Um,
unintended consequence, man, of the work that of how good you guys are. That's awesome.
it is awesome, but it's not so awesome in the sense that you have to keep on then having to go and find a new client
Yeah.
again,
So
type
yeah.
of
So
thing.
your
So
business development cycle is it must be pretty intense or pretty pressurized.
very much so, and it's to find that partnership or the chemistry. I think chemistry is the word I'm really
Nice.
trying to get, is to find people who, it's like, we're in the Rugby World Cup session right now, so let's talk a bit of rugby synergy.
Right.
It's like Brian Habana running down the left wing. Many parts, we need the client to be the left boot. We want to be the right boot. And we have to work in synergy when we pass each other
Right.
as we make traction across the field. Because you will never be able to run with one foot behind the other, because you'll never get to the try line,
Yeah.
you know?
And that's a very difficult kind of balance to find. Hey, this idea of like the right client, because I was talking to someone today who was recalling a talk that she had gone to from some CEO, and this guy basically sort of said to her and others in the audience with her at that time is, if you have a client who's sort of toxic, right, who is like a pain to deal with, who, you're just kind of maybe just sort of order taking from them, you're not really given the opportunity and the space and the time to express yourself creatively and the solutions that you want to provide, fire them immediately, right? Because all it will
Yeah.
do is that it'll just attract sort of similar clients, right? And it's almost kind of
Mm.
like this case, unfortunately, and I can't find a better sort of analogy, and it's a very unfortunate analogy to make, but it's almost sort of like the analogy of like the battered woman sort of syndrome, right? You'll keep sort of going to the same kind of client, the same kind of behavior will persist until you kind of put an end to that, right? And so this idea,
Yeah.
and so all I'm saying is that it is a very difficult thing to get right, finding the right client where you can be the right boot and they can be the left boot, and you can, charge like buying a banner towards 60 tries, right?
Yeah,
But
sure, sure.
it is a wonderful thing to strive for,
Yeah,
and I respect you guys for that.
definitely.
Thank you. I think that coming back to you, it's two parts. You never know what you're having or what you're dealing with until you're in it.
Yeah,
And that's what that whole chemistry is about.
correct.
You either got to find that you are adding value, and you can add value, and you're adding value to each other, and you're performing. We are paid to perform.
Mm.
Then as long as you're adding value and you're synergy, and for me and my clients, we can sit and I I can understand the targets that they need to reach, and we can strategize on how best to build their team
Yeah,
and what images we can build internally, because we believe strongly in an internal customer
that's right.
and an external customer. Because if the team is not together within the client, there's no ways that the external customer is going to be able to buy the product, because the
For
passion
sure.
is going to be lacking, you know.
Absolutely.
Um,
Wonderful. Okay.
so yeah, I would say that would be it's down to the chemistry, but yeah, to fire a client
It's a very
is
difficult thing to
not the
do. Yeah.
easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
But sometimes it has to be. You both come to a compromise as to the best result
Correct.
in
For
order to go
sure.
forward. Sometimes.
For
I
sure.
wouldn't recommend it personally, but in the conversation I had with this person was like, okay, well, I do sort of understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But Grant, I mean, while we're kind of talking about these milestones and stuff like that, and some of the things that you got, maybe can you talk to us and sort of our listeners about some of the really cool projects that you guys have worked on? You don't have to necessarily give names or people or whatever, but just maybe the client, the sector, maybe the sector that they were in, and kind of how you were able to maybe move them from zero to hero, and some of the cool things that you guys have done, man.
Well, we had a client that was in the service industry, and I knew the owner, the original owner, and he
Mhm.
was in the process of selling his business. Nothing to do with what I had to do, but he had sold it to an international organization.
Right.
And I was sitting at his award ceremony, and I had the good fortune of actually sitting at his table. And he moved a couple of chairs over, and he came and sat next to me. He says, "I'd like you to do one more thing for me." And I didn't know what he was implying. And he said, "I want you to change my brand in such a way that it will last for the next 20 years. Can you make a change?" He told me what I wasn't allowed to touch, but he said, "For the rest of it, it's up to you."
Sure.
And I did that about 12 years ago. And I know for a fact that that brand is just short of 14 million rands worth of value today.
Wow.
Wow.
And it was just it was his lasting touch that he really wanted to leave on the business before he left the organization. It was his baby. He started it from its infancy right up to where it was. He made very good money selling the business, but he just wanted to do one more thing.
Yeah, and
And
just
I
kind of
did it.
cement his
And
legacy.
absolutely. And they sold it to an organization that's got 200 businesses around the world.
Wow.
And you know that this is the only one out of the 200 that cannot or has not changed to conform to the rest of the industries around the world because of the amount of value that this brand holds.
That's amazing.
Another one was we launched
That's really
the
cool.
first South African Wonder Bra girl in South Africa.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
at the time, it was a fantastic project because we were on the photo shoot and we had these things, but we had to talk to the editors in South Africa.
Right.
And there were about 40 fashion editors. And what we did was we came up with a stylish direct mail box, and inside was, it looked like a package. And we got a good-looking gentleman to arrive with a silver tray, in a tuxedo, a silver tray with this brown wrapping box on the tray. And he wasn't allowed to talk to anyone but the editor. It doesn't matter if they were in the meeting, if they were wherever they were. He
Yeah,
had to get to them.
She's
and hand
coming
it to
out
them
and
he
meeting
had to
him,
leave.
right?
Yeah. And by the time they opened the box and they had a flick through the contents that were inside, we actually even allowed for a sample bra to be inside, and we actually put some stuffing inside. So we printed a cleavage. So we really tried to give it a 3D depth kind of experience.
Nice.
That at the time it was costing the client around about 80,000 rand just to have 40 boxes printed and made. And at the
Wow.
time the client was busy choking, thinking these are the most expensive boxes he's ever bought in his
Yeah,
life.
right.
But what we did is that we were able to give him back about 3.8 million rands worth of media exposure by talking correctly to the fashion editors.
Nice.
Wow. Wow.
And that's what it's all about, is where we are heading to now. It's about creating touch points. If people can touch it, see it, enhance it, add value, share it, then naturally those touch points are shared. And that's what I'm loving about the digital age now.
Very
That was
cool.
that was back in the day when we only had print. I can only imagine what that campaign would have done today if we had followed something similar today. I think
On
we would have
Instagram,
reached.
on Facebook, on whatever. Yeah, it would have like
Hundred-
legs like no other thing. Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
Wow.
And the last thing I'd like to say on this particular point was that I learned a lesson once when I met Richard Branson, was that
That's
if,
cool.
if, if for example, I can just imagine the discussion to when they first decided to make an airline company and call it Virgin, as to some of the co-directors were sort of a little bit apprehensive as to going with a name so alternative to that of the norm.
All right.
Right.
The lesson I learned was that if you can call Virgin an airline company, you can actually brand anything as long as you apply it and back it up
Yeah.
in the correct way on a consistent way.
For sure.
Okay.
Definitely.
That's
And
very
another
cool.
one would be like Gap. Gap with clothing was another one where on two occasions they've changed their brand,
Yeah, and it
and
was
on two
rejected.
occasions
Yeah,
the people have said, no, we don't like it, go
that's
back to the
right.
way it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
That's right.
So Grant, moving forward, right? We're just about to hit October. The year is done. It's over. What else does Gold Creative have planned for the rest of 2015? I know what you guys are known for is being thought leaders, especially in the marketing and advertising space. What other activations are you guys doing, maybe in-house, for the rest of the year?
Look, we're always entering to a tough season because there are a few. Also, the second thing we're known for is to be able to pull the rabbits out of the hat.
For sure.
So yeah, that's very much coming into the silly season. So yeah, we've got quite a few tight deadlines for particular clients. But I think from my perspective, it's about creating the leverage and the positioning from a worldwide perspective, and really, I'm really concentrating on this digital space in the
Yeah.
sense of how we can pinpoint and find customers for our customers,
Yeah.
as to
Yeah.
how we can create personal selling. You know, it's back in the day of the 1950s when copywriters were only paid if their headline worked successfully.
Right, right, right.
It's about that one-on-one marketing, which is digital is starting to allow us. You know, you've noticed in the way that you search things on your computer. Eventually, the likes of Google will find out you like sports cars and will start to throw that kind of stuff in your direction.
Right,
So
that
it's
content.
mining into their database, and I think that is where the future really sits for all of us, as to how do we start to define who is our target market, where's our target market, and how do we find them on a regular basis
Yeah.
in order to talk to them and make our spend that much more effective than it is than what traditional media has allowed us to do.
Mm. Okay, and just maybe an extension on that is, what is your take for the rest of the industry, right? For the rest of the kind of creative sector for 2015, or what trends can people start to look out for? I mean, like, and I ask that specifically because a lot of our listeners are, young, left of center, creative people themselves, right? With possibly with ambitions to be kind of like you, right? To
Yeah,
be
for
in,
sure.
in Australia, in the States, in Singapore, in Japan, and wherever, launching agencies, flying the South African flag really high, expressing themselves creatively, adding value to businesses or to their clients. What does the sector look like? For the next sort of 12 months. What is your kind of take on on what's happening? I know you've touched on sort of the digital age is kind of where we need to focus, where we need to be. But maybe if you don't mind, Grant, just maybe being a little bit more
Sure.
specific, right? Around, is it in social media? Is it in, I don't know, like digital integration of content versus, kind of paper? Where is it at specifically? What are the kind of trends that people can look out for?
Look, well, let's start with that. You know, traditional media is not dead. It's just that it's become more strategic than ever before,
Mm-hmm.
and strategic definitely directs and supports social media in the sense of where to find it, how to find it, and why you should find it. Um, Going into where the trends are, it is about touch points. If you're not touching a customer or a consumer, you must remember these consumers today, and all of us, we're all consumers. You can get what you want, when you want, how you want, whenever you want, just because you want to, allows you to move on. So for example, yes, content is relevant, but at the same time, on a web page, for example, you've got between 5.7 seconds before the guy decides he's going to click somewhere else and move on.
Right,
And if
right.
you're not adding value and you're not informing him and you're not enhancing what the benefit is to him, he's going to move on. And I think it's about those touch points. If you can touch a consumer and hold him and entertain him and keep him there, it's about putting the value in his hands that he can feel he can touch it anytime he wants to and that he can participate. I think is where the opportunities are. And I think you talk, yeah, social media, let's dig deeper. I would say it's touch point. How do you touch a consumer?
Right.
How do you hold
Right.
him? How do you stay his friend? How do you reward him for being loyal? I think those are kind of things where some of the big brands have missed out. You know, if you've got a cell phone contract for a number of years, at what point have they come back to you and said, thank you for your business for the last X amount of years?
Right.
And I think that's a huge opportunity they've missed that they should have taken on and said, we appreciate you and don't go and stick with us and how can we add value to you and we can see your pattern and we're going to do X, Y, Z for you. I think is tremendous added value, which is what everyone's starting to get an expectation for now. So I think it's touch points within your communication strategies that I think is important.
All right, no, thanks, Grant. I think you're spot on from that perspective, to be honest with you. But we know it's getting late there in Australia. But there's always two questions, Grant, that we ask each of our guests, in kind of in closing. And the first one would be, what would you tell your 20-year-old self about business, about entrepreneurship? If you flash back 23 plus years ago to when you started out in the garage, what would you tell that version of yourself?
I've thought about that long and hard.
We thought the pause was for effect. It worked.
I've thought about it long and hard, you know, and I've tried to keep it precise rather than long-winded. And I think that the way that I would do it is I would listen more.
Yeah.
Very good.
I would focus on the goals and not stray from the objective.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I would not take my relationships for granted.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. But I would choose carefully the people I would surround myself with because sometimes they are the ones that take you off course.
Yeah,
That's
most
very
definitely,
true.
especially when you're 20, hey?
Yeah, especially when you're 20. And I think that embracing change, I think, has been my best attribute is that I've loved where things are going and I've always embraced it and I've always thought about it and fantasized about it, that I'm actually now living it. I think is what's kept it. So I think that embracing the change rather than fighting it would be the way to go. So I think, yeah, those would be my
Those
points,
are
I would
very
say, to a
powerful.
20-year-old self.
Nice one.
That's
nice
amazing. I
one.
like that. I like those responses.
So the second question, Grant, is the name of the show is The Opportune Time, and it stems from the Greek word kairos, which is which means the opportune time to kind of act. So we ask each of our guests, what does the opportune time mean for you? What does it mean for your business?
Patience. Patience.
Okay.
You know, it's one thing to be enthusiastic and to run into the china shop and be the bull, but you know, when you've knocked over all the porcelain and the glass vases, there's not much left. So
Right.
sometimes you just got to wait your time for when it's right to act. And a lot of my clients have taught me that, funny enough. A lot of them have said, no, we'll do it when X is in place. And I've learned that it has worked. So I think the opportune time for me is patience. Having the patience to wait and know when to move, rather than just moving for the sake of moving.
Very
Okay,
good.
great.
Jeez, Grant, I'm impressed. I really love your responses to the last two questions. That they hit home for me.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
But Grant, before
Thank
you before you go and before you get to sleep, is where can we find out more information about
Yes.
Gold Creative?
Yes.
Well, basically, there are a couple of things. You can find us on Facebook if you go to Gold Creative Services on Facebook and interact with us there. We're always posting interesting fads and techniques that people do around the world, not only in South Africa. So
Nice.
you're constantly just looking at that creative space and challenging it. Or you can go to www.goldcreative.co.za.
Okay, and we'll tweet that out.
Yeah, and or you can call us on 011 803 7713.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
All right.
We'll put those details on Twitter.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure you guys will be bombarded with like people wanting internships or jobs or whatever.
Yeah, man.
Or also just to learn from Grant, man. I mean, this super inspiring maverick who's trying to conquer down under.
Yeah, man. Grant, thank you.
The lesson I try to always take out of this, guys, is to, you know what, I will always try and find the time to listen
Yes.
to who wants to do what, because you never know when you're going to find a diamond in the sand.
That's very
And
true.
I've made it a mission to try and listen to everything that comes my way.
Yeah.
But naturally, we're a business, and of course, time is short, so we
course.
we,
Well,
we,
time
we
is
try
money.
and follow a process in order to get to
Definitely,
see where the diamonds are.
Patience is king, as you said.
Definitely. Grant,
Patience is king.
thank you so much for joining us. It would be
Yes.
great in the future to stay in touch and maybe collaborate on a few items to see if we can get you to share more of that Gold Creative expertise.
We're looking forward to that.
Yeah, fantastic, guys. Yes, I've got a couple of ideas in that space. So yeah, I'll drop you a mail. We can have a chat and let's see if we can maybe take something forward and bring something out, and maybe we can put something together. Let's see what we can do and unbundling that and
Excellent.
finding people with projects and see what we can do with it.
That would be
Excellent.
amazing. That would be amazing.
En-
Grant?
Enjoy your time in Australia, Grant, and come back with like some koala bears, man, for us. Or, I don't know, whatever they have
Some
there,
little ones,
souvenirs.
little
Yeah,
ones.
exactly.
Fantastic, guys. All right, well, I'll see you guys soon. I'll be back soon, and we can catch up, and I look forward to taking things further.
Great stuff,
Great.
and get some sleep. Cheers, Grant.
Thanks, Grant.
Cheers, guys. Thanks very much. Thanks for everyone. Thank you.
All right.
Peace.
Great interview with Grant Tom from Gold Creative.